So as you can see here, I have a various assortment of different bulbs, and basically I've already discussed going around your place and figuring out what you need to cut back on. What is using the electricity? What can you do without? And I've already made an extensive video on that as far as getting a kilowatt meter, figuring out what's using the electricity, and then cutting back. Because when you're going into renewables like solar, it is pointless for you to continue on drawing what you draw when you start to invest in solar, especially when you're in a limited space, such as my case being in an apartment. So there's very little point in investing all of the money to try to offset my bill when I'm being excessive. And excessive is kind of a broad term, but essentially excessive means like leaving a light on that you don't need on. And you're not even in the room and you leave a light on. Leaving your computer on overnight, it's not doing anything at all. That's what I consider excessive. And it could be something as simple as turning off a light, turning off your computer, or trying to figure out things that you don't need anymore or that are plugged in that you never use, and figuring out where the costs are at and basically just unplugging the stuff. And you'd be surprised how far you can go just doing that, and really being conscious about leaving things on. Make it burned in your brain that whenever anything is on, it's using electricity, and that's costing you money. So like I said, I've already discussed getting your kilowatt meter and going around and figuring out what various household items are using the electricity. But what I haven't covered yet is your lighting. Now, my electric company, they send out pamphlets all the time, emails all the time, the top 100 ways to save money on your electric bill, things like that. And they always include things like this: lighting, different lights, light bulbs, things that you can do, such as turning off a light. This is basic stuff. So I'm not breaking any ground here as far as anything new, but what I wanted to talk about more was the cost of investment versus the payoff. And what's common for people who start to get into renewable energies is they immediately go out and they replace all the lights in their home with CFLs or even LEDs today, and they spend a lot of money doing this. And when you invest a large amount of money in lighting, then you need to really stop and think about how much money you just threw away. I know what you're saying. Well, I thought that CFLs and LEDs, that's a good investment. It is a good investment if you use that light often. And this is something that a lot of people trip over. So let's say that you have a 60-watt incandescent bulb in your walk-in closet, and you spend at most 2 minutes a day with that light on. You run in, you get whatever you need, and you run out, okay? So that's about 60 minutes a month, or approximately 1 hour per month. So when you're looking at a 60-watt light bulb that burns 60 watts per hour, that's 60 watts. So you're using 60 watts of electricity per month to have that bulb there. Now for me, let's just look at let's just say for a flat rate of 15 cents per kilowatt hour, you're looking at 9/10 of a cent per month to run that bulb, okay? Now, you don't need to go out and replace that bulb right away with either a CFL or an LED. The reason is because you're spending less than 1 penny per month to run that bulb, okay? So you're looking at, let's just say 10 cents per year to run that bulb. And let's just say that a CFL bulb, or let's go with LED. Let's say an LED bulb, a 40-watt equivalent costs $6 now, okay? So you're looking at 10 cents a year that you're going to be saving, right? And it's actually going to be less than that when you factor in, the LED bulb is going to use about 6 watts. So let's just say that you're saving, about 10 cents a year approximately. Multiply that by 25 years, and you're looking at $2.50 over 25 years that you're saving by putting that bulb in, okay? So it would take about 50 years for you to see the actual return on investing in that bulb. And this is what confuses a lot of people. Now, if you're somebody who is off the grid completely, most likely you're going to find another way to light that room, okay? And I do have a lantern there that's an LED lantern. I can use that as an example. So people aren't going to just run out and spend a bunch of money on LED bulbs in places that they don't use light all that often. And so really the point is that you don't need to go out and invest a whole bunch of money in changing all your bulbs over to CFLs or LEDs if you're not in that room that long, because you're quite literally like I said, you're quite literally maybe saving 10 cents. And I'm using the 2 minutes per day example. It could be 5 minutes a day, in which case you're saving 15 cents, a year or whatever. I mean, what I'm really trying to get across here is that don't think that you have to go out and spend a bunch of money to save money, because in many cases it's actually going to cost you more money. Okay? Now, if you're all about the environment and you just want to reduce your footprint and so on, okay, that's fine. Then make the investment. But if you're trying to save money, if you're trying to keep more money in your wallet, then going to LEDs for places like your walk-in closet is not going to be a worthwhile investment, because you will not see the return for years and years and years and years, okay? So keep that in mind. So what I did when I was thinking about my lighting and wanting to reduce my energy costs is I figured out where I spend the most amount of time in my apartment. Obviously the living room, okay? I have a bedside lamp that I have on, the kids' room, the bathroom, the kitchen, the dining room. Those are the main things. But the hallway, I spend, okay, maybe the light is on, let's just say, 2 minutes a day, okay? The walk-in closet, we've got 2 walk-in closets. Those are on all of about a minute, minute and a half a day at most. The front door light, we use that real briefly if it's dark and we come home at dark, we use that real briefly just so that we can see what we're doing, and then we turn on the dining room light. So that one's not on very often. So I actually went around and I figured out exactly what I was using, what I wasn't using, and then I made the calculations myself to figure out if it was going to be a worthwhile investment to invest in either CFLs or LEDs. And by doing so, I was actually able to cut back my electricity bill, because the rooms where I use the most light is where I invested the money so that I could see the savings quicker, so that I could get a return much faster. At night, I usually spend, my wife spends probably a good 4 or 5 hours in the living room, okay, between the computer and the living room and so on. So she's, we've got 4 or 5 hours of electricity with a 60-watt bulb that we will be using that we can turn into a 5-watt bulb, an LED bulb, which puts out a little bit less, but still it's sufficient for our needs. So we were able to save money over time much faster by doing so. So that's what you need to do when you're actually considering replacing your bulbs in your home with, more energy efficient bulbs such as CFLs and LEDs. So don't go out and spend, $500 on a bunch of bulbs that is going to take you 50 years to see a return investment on, okay? That's the thing. That's what you really need to, consider. So I've got a standard 60-watt incandescent bulb. I actually have this in my walk-in closet, my front walk-in closet. It was here when I moved into this place, so I didn't even have to buy it. But these things are so cheap now. In fact, one of my local hardware stores doesn't even carry these anymore. They only carry CFLs. It seems weird, but most people are moving to CFLs. And the price of a CFL, like the one that's right here, this CFL uses 26 watts. So I've got 26 watts of usage out of this, which is less than half of the incandescent bulb. And this particular bulb, I went to Walmart and I bought a bulk pack of 12 years back, and I think I paid about $10 for that bulk pack of 12, and it was on sale. So I've got less than $1 invested in these, and they use less than half of the electricity as the incandescent bulb. Now I also have a couple of oddballs here. This is a 3-way. It essentially goes into one of those dimmer lamps, so it can go, you know, low, medium, and high. This beast here actually uses 25 watts maximum, and it's really kind of amazing that this little bulb here actually uses 26 watts, and then this big bulb here uses a maximum of 25 watts. But this bulb is much newer than that one there. I actually got this one just recently in a lamp that we had, because the LED dimmables are still harder to find and they're a little bit more pricey. So this bulb here was, I think, about $2.50 is what I paid for it. Now this beast here, this is just for giggles. This one actually uses 47 watts of electricity, and this is actually a bulb that I use in my YouTube channel for lighting up areas when I do videos such as this. Now I don't have any on right now because it's, you know, light outside, but if I did any videos at night, then I would have these running here, and I have housings that project the light out, so it makes it easier to see my videos. So you can see all the different bulbs that I actually have, and these here are pretty run-of-the-mill. You can get these pretty much everywhere. Like I said, they're pretty much everywhere. Okay, and then you got an LED bulb. Looks kind of like a regular old incandescent bulb. They look, you know, similar, but this one uses LEDs. They're on the inside. I'm not going to rip it open or anything. They use LEDs in the inside, and they use a plastic housing, and all the circuitry for the LED is down here, and it actually uses this particular one is a 5 watt. It's a 40 watt output, 5 watt equivalent, so it uses 5 watts to put out 40 watts of electricity. Okay, and LEDs are still kind of new, so they are going to be more expensive, but I was lucky because Walmart was actually doing a sale on these. So I ended up finding a bulk pack of 8 of these Walmart on sale. I ended up getting them, there was 8, and I ended up paying $40. It was like 40 and some change for 8 of these bulbs. Now that's cheap, okay? That's real cheap. So I saved quite a bit of money because I got lucky and found these bulbs so cheap. So I've got one in the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, one in each bedroom, 2 in the bathroom, and I can't remember where else I've got them. But anyway, so I invested, put them in the places where I usually light them up the most, and they've been paying off since. Now I don't have exact figures of what I'm saving, what I'm not, because I'm more conscious about keeping the lights on. But the point is that the investment that I made, the $40 investment, with all the lights that I use over the course of a day, a week, a month, it will start paying for itself much quicker. Okay, the last thing I wanted to show you is this LED lantern. Also, at Walmart. This was actually an open box item. Now, I'm not one to buy open box stuff because I always feel like they've been damaged, somebody broke them, and you know that's why they return them or whatever. So I went ahead and took a chance on this, and I was lucky because it really was just an open box item. Everything was still sealed. It was just an open box item. So I purchased this Coleman lantern. I ended up getting it for an absolute steal. It was only $15 for this lantern, and they were also running, believe it or not, they also had some rechargeable. These are lithium-ion rechargeable batteries. They had these. I got this for $10, and so between the two, I've got $25 invested into this really bright lamp. Not only is it good for emergency purposes, it's great for emergency power, but I actually use this lamp instead of lights everywhere, and I use my solar panels to charge this lantern. Usually about once every 2 weeks or so it needs to be charged. But whether I'm in the kitchen doing dishes, or I'm in the bathroom taking a shower, whatever, it doesn't matter. I always have this lantern with me, and I use it instead of the lights. It sounds weird, I know it does, but it actually, it's when I'm using my solar panels to charge this, it's not costing me any money. So why would I still want to run even the most efficient bulbs, even these, when I can have this and it doesn't cost me any money? Now granted, there's a $25 investment. I got lucky, it's my situation or whatever, but you know, this is a big LED lantern, and you can get smaller lanterns. Hell, you can even use your cell phone if you wanted to. If you don't want to use any lights anymore, use your cell phone. So a lot of cell phones these days have the torch light and whatever, where they project the light out. And my phone kind of sucks right now, but it still puts out a reasonable amount of light. So if you can get away with not going out and even buying these, not even using lights around the home, then definitely do it. For my situation, I got this huge light that just puts out a ton of light, well more than anything that I've got, in light bulbs, and it doesn't cost me a penny. I had the initial investment, but it's nice, emergency power, really bright, and so yeah. Anyway, you've got a lot of options. That's the whole point. You have a lot of options. So really, you need to sit down and figure out where to use the most light, and is it going to be cost effective for you to replace those bulbs with what I recommend, LEDs, because these last longer, use less electricity, and you can usually find them on sale different places. In my case, I got those at Walmart. But so that's going to be your job to do. Don't worry about every single little light that you've got in the house, and you've got to replace every one of them, unless that's your prerogative, unless you have the money. But if you're looking to save money, then only replace what you think you need to replace. Now, when this incandescent goes out, when it burns out, of course I'm going to replace it. I have plenty of these. I've got probably a dozen of these. So of course I'm going to replace it with one of these, but I'm not going to go right out and buy an LED. You can get these dirt cheap, so of course replace it with one of these. But even still, if you just want to replace it with a regular incandescent, if you can still find one less than $1 for this, why not? Or if you've already got a lantern, why even replace it at all? I mean, the possibilities are pretty much endless, and it all depends on your situation. So, you want to save money? There's a bunch of lighting options. I know I droned on quite a bit and so on, but hopefully I covered some things that most of the tips and tricks out there don't cover, such as why would you want to replace a bulb just to replace it even if you don't use it. So, if you have any questions, definitely let me know, and I'll be more than willing to answer them. Take care, guys.